talking about today is embodying patience and presence, putting those two together and finding a groundwork, a space where the two have a positive impact on each other. It's about cultivating the patience and presence with our horses, but also obviously with ourselves. And these two qualities are fundamental when it comes to the ReWild coaching, because they allow us to build that connection that goes beyond what we can see and measure. And it's all that we have been talking about over the last few weeks, the connection that our horses can truly feel and respond to that goes beyond the physical. So we're going to dive into how we can embody patience and presence today and deepen that partnership with our horses, and of course, keeping in mind how it impacts also on ourselves as human beings within that dynamic. So understanding patience in horsemanship. Patience as a state of calm acceptance. So patience, especially with our horses, is more than just the ability to wait. It's about cultivating a calm acceptance of the present moment. So when we approach our horses from a state of calm, we release any need for them to be a certain way or to respond immediately, which is usually a reaction. And this is especially meaningful to our horses as they pick up on any tension or any emotion, good, bad, or indifferent, that we may bring to their environment. Allowing time and space for the horse to respond is crucial. Patience also means providing that time for our horses to process that rest and digest part of our dialogues and respond. So there's going to be a lot of responding in this presentation, trying to really ingrain that thought process that we're always looking for responses and not reactions. And that is two-way. We want to be in a position where we are able to respond to our horses' responses, to be able to nurture and to really deepen that foundation of calm. And when we give them this room, where we're showing that we are not in a hurry and that we are aware of their pace, mental, emotional, and physical, it's in these unpressured moments that horses often feel safe enough to approach us, the challenge, the conversation, with trust. And once we've got that, we have a really good basis to build on. This is foundation on foundation, if you like. Patience is an opportunity for growth, both in humans and in horses. So when we practice patience, we're not only giving our horses a chance to grow and learn, we're also allowing ourselves the same. And patience teaches us to be present, to accept what is, and to embrace growth in our journey as much as in our horses, as also within our lives. So when I say it teaches us to accept what is, it's more of an awareness of what is right now in this moment, not that this is it and I am going to give up because there's no change here. There's always progress. There's always the ability to grow. So it's, okay, in this very moment, I'm going to accept what is, but I understand my desires. I am aware of my dialogue and the dynamic and the relationship that I wish to cultivate. So I can then, because I'm accepting where we are right now, I have a clearer ability to lay out a path going forward. So patience is really at the heart of any successful relationship with our horses. And when we practice that calm acceptance, like I say, we give our horses that space and view patience as a path to growth rather than inertia. because we do sometimes, particularly in our hectic lives, feel that when we are waiting, when we are being patient, we get impatient. Where patience in and of itself is growth. Patience in and of itself is a place for more acceptance and more awareness to be absorbed. And when we invite that sense of ease into our reactions, we then build on that partnership that we're seeking with our horses. And this is how we create that foundation of trust that allows both our horses and us to truly thrive in the relationship, thrive in life, thrive in all the dynamics and communication that we have. So presence as the foundation of trust, how does that work? Well, presence is awareness in the moment. And presence means being fully here in the now, with all of our awareness focused on this moment. Horses, as we've spoken about, naturally live in the present. They're not distracted by thoughts of the past or the future. That doesn't mean to say that the past doesn't affect them. It absolutely does. There is trauma or there is positive. They are looking for tomorrow's feed. They are looking for tomorrow's shelter. But each interaction they have with themselves about the past and the future is always embedded, it's always cocooned, if you like, in the present. And when we meet them in this space of presence, so not ignoring the past, but being aware of it, not being over-focused on the future, but understanding that it's there, it's coming, we're on the threshold of it, we are able to connect with them on their level. So horses respond to presence, not distraction. So as horses are attuned to the environment and we are part of that environment, they know when we are focused on them or the dialogue we're having or the dynamic that is occurring, and when our minds are elsewhere. And when we're truly present, horses feel seen and heard in a way that they can trust. A distracted mind has, for a horse, because when we have a distracted mind, it is usually coming from an energetic place with lots of thoughts, lots of emotions, positive, negative, the whole gambit. That sends out signals to our horses that can leave them feeling uncertain, and they're feeling uncertain because there's no clarity. They can't pick on the distraction. They can't pick out within that distraction, within all those thoughts, the moment of your ask. So you may be asking something, but thinking about something else, and those two energetic moments collide. And it's as though they can't quite reach us, because they hear and see the ask, whether it be a physical request or an emotional request. But because we have veiled it within distraction, they are unable to find the clarity and respond in a way that you are looking for. And that's when we start getting confused, because we feel we've been clear with the ask, because we're not aware of the white noise that we have brought with the distraction. So the power of grounding in trust building is huge. So all the stuff that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, and the meditation and grounding ourselves, it is a road to presence. So grounding ourselves in present isn't just about calming ourselves, isn't just about breathing and going, oh yeah, now I'm calm. It's a vital part of building trust, but not only with our horses and other people within our environment, our family and friends. Being able to afford ourselves that helps us trust ourselves. And this goes back to, we ask our horses to trust us. We want to trust our horses, but the first element of all of that is, do we trust ourselves? And a grounded, steady energy invites our horses to feel safe with us. When they know we're fully there with them, they are able to find the clarity in any conversation that we are having with them, the dialogue that we're holding. And this presence becomes a bridge for allowing for a deeper connection and mutual trust. So that goes back to our horses need to trust us. I need to trust my horses, but where's the bit in the middle? That's the bridge. That's the bridge that we need to construct, enable for an energetic back and forth of the conversations that we're having. So presence is one of the greatest gifts we can offer our horses and ourselves. And by practicing presence, we can communicate on a level, I think, that will reach them, excuse me, and us when we are in that moment of confusion, that moment where there's so much going on, and 30 seconds of grounding will help you find clarity in the next step. It might not help you, well, 30 seconds won't help you find clarity in the next hour, 2 hours, 2 days, week. But to take that next step, which is the first step to the next hour, 2 hours, 2 days, next week, that's the clarity that you need to find. And there's the grounding. That's your 30 seconds of grounding to help you take that next step. Now, our calm, focused attention reassures our horses. And it will reassure ourselves. This module, this part, this about presence, is so fundamental for our own well-being. And as I always say, we need to enter any arena in inverted commas, whether it's with our horse, whether it's with other people, whether it is in a bank or in a lawyer's office or in a school or in a supermarket, whatever arena we enter, we need to be able to find that calm, focused attention so that we can achieve clarity with our dialogues. And over time, what happens is that deeper trust will develop, and it will develop naturally. It won't be forced, which is another key issue, particularly when we are talking about our horses. So one of the key elements of this is listening, and not just listening, but listening as an act of awareness. So practicing active listening is part of grounding and is part of being present. So we often listen to people. No, we often hear people speak, but we're so busy looking for the answer. We're so busy wondering what I'm going to be doing in an hour's time. We don't actually listen. And that goes back to what I was saying about the distraction. When we go to our horses distracted, we are not listening to their responses, and they can't hear us because of all the distraction. So listening when practiced with intention. So listening when practiced with intention is an act of respect within our human dialogues, within our self dialogue, and it is an act of awareness between our horse-human dialogue. And it says to our horses, I'm here and I value what you're telling me. Because remember, it's not verbal. So our ability to listen to our horses has to be a step up from just hearing noise spoken by a human being, where, okay, they may have a sentence of 10 words. You listen to 5 of them, you get the gist. And 9 times out of 10, your response might actually be accurate. It doesn't work like that with horses. With horses, if they're going to give you 10 words, you have to listen to every single one of them, because you can't find the gist in 6. You have to be listening, and obviously listening not to the verbal, but to the whole energetic dialogue that they're presenting to you. And within the ReWild program, ReWild coaching program, listening is viewed as an essential building block to a balanced partnership, because it honors the horse's experiences and emotions, because they are going to come to you with both of those. And it's our ability, when we start truly listening, which is part of awareness, we have that ability to be able to dissect the experiences, the emotions, and balance them out between the dialogues that we're having with them, so that we can rebuild them into something positive. Even if it is already positive, the concern that I sometimes have is that people are having dialogues with their horses and it's super positive, but they're missing that 10%, which would make it exceptional. And once it's exceptional for us, it's good for the horse. Now, that might sound a little bit depressing, but we have to be that much better at listening to them than to human beings. If you get my meaning. Then we move on to obviously observation, which is what we've been building over the last few weeks. And we start with observation because it's very easy for us to get a hold of, because we are observing all the time. Whereas the listening aspect, is a different layer. It's a level above. So when we now are starting to add listening to it, then it's obviously going to be listening is much more detailed. It requires more focus. It requires more awareness, and it requires more presence. Horses are constantly communicating, whether it is with us or with the other horses in their environment, or even just with the environment. And like I said, this is normally something that we see. So the changes in the shifts in their bodies, the shifts in the way that they communicate within their physical body. Then it gets a little bit more difficult to observe expression and the tiny, tiny movements and signals that they give us. But then we have to really dig deep when we want to listening. But having said that, by beginning with the observation and observing these signals, these cues, it allows us to better understand their state of mind. And once that becomes second nature, it also gives us space to start listening. We all have to start somewhere. And if observation is where it is the easiest place to start, then that's where we should start. And when we are attentive to these dialogues, these physical dialogues, we can then start responding to them more accurately and making our horses feel understood. And again, once that rhythm becomes second nature as another language, we can then start putting the listening on the top of that. So responding based on what the horse is communicating means that listening is only half the equation. Observing, actually, it's not even half, it's a third of the equation. Observing is a third of the equation. But how we respond matters just as much. So by adjusting our own behavior in the response to our horse's dialogues, whether they be physical cues or signals or an emotional signal, we can build a dialogue based on awareness and respect their sensitivity, which will in turn strengthen our relationship and build on our partnership with each interaction. So I just want to take a side note here about talking about the difference, how I view the difference between relationship and partnership with our horses. A relationship for me is the friendship at the beginning, what we're doing, how we're being, all the beautiful initial communication to build that connection. And it is something that runs through from moment to end. The relationship is something, as with humans, that you work on, that you nurture, that you encourage constantly. Partnership is the part that goes on top of that, Without the relationship, there is no partnership. The partnership is when we add the layer of desire. So whether it is trekking, whether it is jumping, whatever discipline you choose, as long as it is approached ethically and morally and with the horse first approach, that is the partnership. But you can't get a true partnership without the relationship. What you get is beings that are being coerced, and their collaboration is through control and not through partnership, not through relationship. So that, just to define those two for you, so you have a better understanding where I believe relationship and partnership lies within the horse-human dynamic. So active listening creates this pathway to understanding. And when we listen, observe, and respond thoughtfully, we're fostering a relationship that is grounded in awareness and empathy. And this deep level of communication is really what turns routine interactions into moments of meaningful connection. And no matter what we are doing, they are all to the horse meaningful. What we're looking for is to ensure that they are connected, no matter what that part of that dialogue is. So techniques to cultivate patience and presence, and we've practiced some of these already, and you won't be surprised that the first one is breathing. Breathing exercises calm your mind. They are quick, they are effective, they are simple, and they're a way that can bring yourself into a calm, centered, grounded state before moving on, or before interacting with your horse, before anything. That goes back to that 30-second grounding, okay? It's so simple, but it's profound. It is something quick, but and has instant effects. Not only, well, surely emotionally, but because it has those effects on your body, it's like a double impact on your emotions. Because if you start to breathe, you start to relax. If you start to relax, you can breathe better. And then the whole system of grounding really kicks in. And when we do that, we can shift our tension, you can release the tension and shift it into a more focused presence, right? And approach your horse with that clear, calm. The second one is to practice stillness near your horse. That isn't to say you're going to stand next to your horse and worry them with your slightly creepy presence, because you're going to be breathing, right? But this is about simply being still near your horse. And this can have an incredibly powerful impact on your relationship, because there is confidence in stillness. Standing quietly by their side without any expectation, and you can't stand there and hope that he turns or she turns and looks at you. No expectation whatsoever. And in the beginning, you probably will get some curiosity from them. Now, that is great because there is a connection there is a physical connection. But what you're trying to cultivate in this moment is an emotional connection, emotional safety. You are safe with me and I am safe with you, and we can just be together without having any expectation whatsoever. This stillness, coupled with this calm energy that you've brought with your breathing, helps horses feel comfortable, and it helps reaffirm that they're not being asked of anything in that moment. This is a shared moment where you're both asking nothing from each of you. And then from there, to really cultivate that patience and presence, is to understand that in any coaching, any relationship exercise, breaking things down into small manageable steps allows you both, horse and human, to progress without pressure. And small steps reduce the chance of overwhelm and encourage that positive, gradual growth in your partnership coming from that relationship. And don't underestimate the power and effort it takes to be still. But again, if you're stood there going, oh my God, I've got to be still for 5 minutes, which doesn't sound a long time, but is an awful long time, you're going to create tension. Go for 10 seconds. Go for 5 seconds if 10 is not achievable. Then go to 15, then go to 20. I'm not asking you to stand around for 2 hours doing nothing, because that's going to, I don't know about you, but that would create stress in me. You're looking for, where am I safe? Where am I calm? Where am I grounded? Where am I present? Where can I practice my patience with my horse and with myself? So the guided reflection exercises. So for this is what I would like you to start thinking about in this next week when you go back and get to here. This would have been more of an introduction to what I'd like you to practice this week. So you need to be thinking about a specific time when you intentionally practiced patience with your horse. And whether it was through a coaching session or you were simply grooming, consider how your horse responded in that moment. Did you notice any shift? Now, they're usually so subtle, you probably won't recall one right now in this moment, and that's okay. Very few people do, unless it's just happened just before the presentation. So just play with that, and it all ties in with observation and listening and patience. And when I observe, I notice this. When I listen, I notice this. When I'm patient, I notice this. And it's being able to bring all those together, because the shift in energy and the mindset that will occur is going to be really revealing and super educational. And when we reflect on these moments, I think also that it allows better understanding the role of patience and presence play in our own lives, with the relationship we have with ourselves as well as with our horses. Because most of our lives are directed externally. They're external emotions, they're external thoughts, they're external observations. You're listening to the other. We very rarely find the time to internally observe, internally listen, internally have patience for ourselves, and internally be present with ourselves. And I promise you that when we start practicing it for ourselves, we are able to practice it for our horses with a higher degree of understanding. And that in turn takes the relationship into partnership, into achieving goals without compromising all that goes before, without compromising the partnership, without compromising the relationship, and without compromising self. So step 2 is, how did your horse respond? So this is when we have gone through that observation and listening and presence, and what is the moment of response you found in your horse that was either interesting, you didn't see any response? Remember, there's no wrong answer in this exercise. So, and a lot of people get, which is a bit ironic, get very stressed looking for a dramatic response. Now, there will be one, but it could be so subtle you might miss it, or you might think, is that it? That wasn't very much. But remember how subtle communication works within the horse-horse dynamic. So if you only get a tiny turn of the head, like, that's huge in horse world. We expect big, flamboyant movements. That's not how it works. You're looking for the tiny, which to a horse is big, and understanding and respecting that within their conversations. And the final step, obviously, is what did you notice in yourself? What did you notice in yourself as you went through the process in that moment? And what did you notice in yourself when you saw any response? And what did you notice in yourself after that? And what I would like you to do is to journal this a little bit if you can. So don't think, oh, well, I'm not going to spend much time with my horse. I would take this opportunity that you can use these exercises on self at the moment, because you will then, when you get 2 horses, be ahead of the game, because most people are trying to combine the 2, which is fine. And I understand that, because that's my teaching. My teaching is horse human. But sometimes it gets all a little bit in a pot and a bit confused. And because we're external beings, like, no, look at yourself. It's harder for me to get people to start looking first at self, because they're so keen to look at horses. So how do you currently practice patience and presence with your horse, or in your case, horse and self, or just self? And what small adjustments could help you deepen that practice? So taking all this information, journal down one word. I don't want to be giving you massive, great essays of homework. I just want you to, every time a word comes into mind, just jot it down. Just keep it really, really simple. So as you move through today's teachings, just consider how you currently bring patience and presence into your relationship with yourself and with your horse. And are there any small adjustments that you can make to deepen the practice? And it could be just a matter of taking a little bit more time. So instead of throwing the hay, you place the hay. Instead of picking up your cup, snatching the cup, pick your cup up with more intention. It's tiny little things like that that make a huge difference to how you manage yourself. And of course, breathing, make sure that you're rhythmically breathing and listening closer to yourself as well as the environment around you. And really let these prompts, these moments, guide your thoughts. And, if you're inspired by this and it really resonates, you should start to feel a much more like a renewed sense of intention, which takes you back to intention being part of their key dialogue. So you start to see how it is linked. So just to go over the main points that we spoke today about. So patience is a calm and open practice. And it's about acceptance of the presence, and allowing us to connect with our horses without any pressure, without any expectation, and giving presence to ourselves, our undivided attention, whether it be for, like I say, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes. It is a foundation of trust, and trust strengthens any relationship that we have. And beginning to actively listen and really hearing what everybody has to say, what our horses are telling us, and understanding that no matter what small changes, they are a big conversation. So patience is calm and open acceptance. Presence fosters trust and connection, and listening is foundational to respectful partnerships. And now I'm going to end with a quote. So, in patience and presence, we create a connection that words cannot define. There should be no words. So that is the end of the presentation. So thank you for listening and being patient and present. And just before we finish, I just want to encourage you to remember that the most profound connection with our horses isn't built on control. It's not built on commands. It is built on that acceptance that focused presence, that moment, that when we show up in this way, we create a relationship that it goes beyond the words, it goes beyond the physical. And it is a relationship of trust and understanding. So that's that. So I'm going to close this window now.